Africa Day. Now, I have 2 comments. The first one has to do with the needless conflicts we have in Africa. Call it intertribal, whatever, racial. Look, European countries and other countries have had this, but they've managed to settle. I realize that part of the problem is that we've lacked leadership, you know, because it's poverty that creates some of the instability that we have. But we must have some way out, because if you have constant conflicts, you cannot have development. A country like South Sudan, the situation there makes me feel like weeping. These are people who suffered under the Arab North, managed to get their independence, and started killing themselves. People have tried to sort things out for them. It continues. I don't know what to propose. Maybe a non-political approach of having maybe intellectual, Soyinka and others, go around some of, Nigeria too is not free from what I'm talking about, to go around some of these countries and let's have, because without peace, you won't have development. The second short comment has to do with the color of our skin.
I'm going to allow you to make your second.
Yeah, just a short one. It's the color of our skin. This issue of bleaching and all this has got to a level. No, you see, if you are not proud of your skin, then you are not fit to live. And of course, for commercial reasons, companies have promoted these things and so on, but we must have a way of reaching out to our younger ones, both female and male, to please stop this bleaching. You can't say, if you are not proud of your race, then you are not fit to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in the red cap, Debola. Red cap up there.
Thank you. Of course, congratulations to UBA, and thanks for taking time to do this. I think that there is a generation that is failing to enjoy the benefit of history. I think that history is a gift of identity, a gift of courage, a gift of boldness, of fearlessness. And it is that gift that leads to innovation and creation. The gift of Isaac Newton is why Mark Zuckerberg at 19 can create Facebook. The gift of Graham Bell is why Kevin Systrom at 26 can create Instagram. History tells you that there is greatness in your kind. And what we see on the continent today are children of lions behaving like cats because they don't know who they are. And I think, to make this short, is that we're failing to leverage the power of the media and pop culture, because you're dealing with a new generation. And if they do not know what to do, the jobs of those before us is to force and show us what we need to do. There is a reason why we all know the history of Britain. We see it in films, we see it in series, we consume it all the time. America is not known as the greatest nation in the world because it happened by chance. They deliberately and intentionally sold that to us. Manhattan smells. There are knives, thousands of knife killings in London, nobody talks about it. No one is using the media to redefine our past and define our path to the future. It was in Beyonce's video last year or 2 years ago that I realized that my own people, 75 great men from Arochukwu, chose to die in the ocean rather than follow some men to go and be traded in slavery. That is courage that says to me that when next someone throws me something I do not think I deserve, I should walk away and rather die in honor. Who is telling these stories? I'm glad that UBA has Red TV. But what I find on all the media platforms today is clickbait. People are doing soft stories, people are doing gossip, people are doing things that are pop culture and just want to have fun. Who is going to spend time in just educating people? If media is not educating, If it's not edifying, if it's not empowering, it's not useful. And finally, for every one of us here, 6 years ago, I decided to start wearing only this. So you see all my pictures anywhere I am in the world, from standing before Obama to the Queen, I'm dressed like this. And the reason I do that is I said to myself, I will go to these places and be the best of myself. And that when they are saying, who is this guy, I don't want any ambiguity. They should not say, oh, he's Black American, oh, he's British. No, 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 no. He's from Nigeria, the place where you hear about 419 and all kinds of things. I carry the blessings and the burden of being African and being Nigerian. And so for all of us here, it's a duty. This thing has made me so empowered. I remember who I am every day and my responsibility to my people. The comfort of any other thing makes you forget that there is a challenge and a cause. So finally, we can all sit here and choose to rise up and write history by ourselves. We can choose to be written in history, or we can choose to just sit by and watch history be written. Thank you.
I hope that people are not intimidated into not speaking because of Debola's statements. I'll take this.
My name is Mohamed Kiari. I'm just putting a challenge to Femi Kuti. It's a comment. When he said it is an African day and most of the people here dressed in a suit, which is the Western one. And the mistake he made is that he also talked to you in English. Now, we have, as the African Union, we have adopted what is called the Swahili language. It's the 5th language of the African Union, and it is an African language, and we have been using it. Then the second question goes to the Prof, the literary icon. Prof, I have attended many conferences, particularly because I'm of science background. They're saying language has played a greater role in the development of the nations. Particularly, we have seen the Asian tigers. Most of them have one single language, and they were educating using that native language for them to develop so fast. But in Africa, we have Ethiopia, which has even their own alphabet, numerals, language, but yet they have not developed like the other countries that we have seen. What is this? Is there anything to say about it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is so amazing. I think this opportunity is really great, so thank you for giving me the chance to speak. I just had a question. I've read about Nkrumah, obviously, and I think his dream for Africa, obviously, liberation, freedom, unity, so many things. When I read about it and I think about where we are today and, you know, what the leaders who have the opportunity to fulfill that dream that have not. But I wanted to ask specifically, especially to his point in terms of language, you know, one of the things that I've really thought about, you know, Europe, United States, well, maybe not the United States, but places like China, and why is it that they're able to come together much more easily than we are in Africa? And the question is, are we too different? So look at a country like Nigeria, for instance. You know, we're very, very, very different. I mean, we're huge. Our population is close to 200 million people, and some people argue that some of our struggles is based in or rooted in the fact that we are too different and we were all just bumbled together. And if you take Nigeria as an example, I mean, we're thinking about the broader Africa and that dream of Nkrumah and even Gaddafi, actually, to a certain extent, thinking about how, and even, you know, even in the purpose of the AU, how is it that we can actually come together? Are we actually too different? Is it actually possible?
Thank you very much. My name is Abdul Aziz Dia. I might not look like it, but I'm coming from Senegal. So, so maybe I should speak in French so that my elder Mr. Niane will understand. Actually, I might not look like it also, but I'm Fuladi. I am of Fulani origin, and I can speak Fulani here. The other day, I was very happy because I was leaving Senegal, coming to Nigeria for a few days, and I had to continue to Cameroon. And coming at the airport here in Nigeria, I saw a bunch of people sitting down and discussing. And they were talking in Fulani. I'm coming from Senegal, that's about 2,000 kilometers from here. And I understood what they were speaking. I joined the conversation and spoke with them. You cannot imagine my pride that 2,000 kilometers away from Senegal, I'm speaking an African language. So I didn't need to speak French or English. And we understood each other. And interestingly enough, I continued to Cameroon, and when I got to the airport at the teller, the guy was there. I saw him, and he looked like someone in my village. He's a Fulani. I spoke to him in Fulani, he responded. That, for me, that's African Union. We need to be able to speak our languages. My wife is from Guinea-Conakry. I've got 3 kids. One was born in Kenya, the second one in Accra, Ghana, and the third in Senegal. African Union is something you live in. It's something you live by your heart. It's not something you just proclaim. You need to live it. And yet, when I travel to Kenya, for example, I've got dual nationality because I'm Senegalese and also half European. When I travel to Kenya with my Senegalese passport, I need a visa. When I use my European passport, I don't need a visa. Does that make sense? Where's the link between, well, my other half is from Romania. I might not look like, but what is the link between Romania and Kenya that Senegal and Kenya cannot have? Talking of history, here in Nigeria, the founder of the Empire of Kanem-Borno is named Usman Dan Fodio. Do you know that Usman Dan Fodio's origin is from Senegal? His village is called Fumihare. It's in Futa. It's about 2 kilometers away from my own village. That's what African history is. We are very, very much united, but let's go forward. Let's leapfrog. I dream that during my lifetime, I will be able, as an African, to travel and settle everywhere in Africa without being asked for my passport. I hope that during my lifetime, I will come to Nigeria and nobody at the border will ask me my passport. As an African, we all need to be able to travel, settle, marry, live, do any work, anything in any African country. That's the plea we need to do. If that is not achieved, the rest is purely grammar. And I hope that will happen during my lifetime. Thank you.
Grammar is a peculiarly Nigerian form of language. So thank you for using it. Mr. Chairman, you were pointing somebody out.
So there's that lady there, and this man in front, Justice Manager, and tell me why you're there. I don't know. And the symbol you're there.
Yes. My name is Kaede Akintemi. I want to say thank you as well to Tony Elimelu and all the people at UBA that has made this happen. The first thing that crossed my mind is when I look at the number of years that I've been following the likes of Professor Wole Soyinka, and then I recall that as far back as 1991, I think I was working in OGTV then, and Femi Kuti broke out from being in the shadow of his father. Him and Dede, he might not remember, I think you should remember, him and Dede Mabeku came to OGTV then, and I interviewed them, and I was really excited about his passion as a young man to break out and do his own thing. I know a little bit about the history of Tony Elumelu as well, and I know he had to break out from the shadow of some people to do what he has done, which the likes of Prof was saying is sitting beside money. So that does not happen by accident. It's a case of breaking out. A lot of young people today, just a few weeks ago, less than a few weeks ago actually, we're talking about Nigeria being number 5 in terms of depression and suicide. We're number 5 in the world. And that means that a lot of young people are looking for leadership. They're deprived of leadership. They have worries about everything, to the point where you're talking about they're too soft, they're not strong enough, they're not pushful, they're just looking for music, they're looking for entertainment. Our history is unfolding right before our eyes. And that is why I feel this is really important. We can talk about the history of what happened 20, 50, 100, 200 years ago. But like Femi said, like all the other speakers here said, what is most important is the history right before our eyes that is being made right now. How do we create something that does not mean that here is a talk shop and we all walk away, and then we come back next year and talk about African Renaissance, and then we talk about another African Renaissance for the next 10 years and 20 years and so on. So I am looking at a situation where we say, for example, the new television station I've just set up, Plus TV Africa, I'm saying there is no TV station in the whole of Nigeria that does news in pidgin. Radio, they talk about mock news, they talk about entertainment and comedy, but our news, in spite of the fact that we've got 80% of Nigerians speaking pidgin English across all demography, no TV station deem it right to say that we should be able to use our news to reach every demography across Nigeria. We've started it and we're pushing for it. We're expecting support. The stories of the Femi Kutis of this world, of the Professor Soyinka of this world, of the Tony Elumelu, of the Samuel Nkrumah of this world. We have to tell these stories to show that it is not by playing or by Yahoo or by using drugs. It is about the hard work that these individuals have put into it that has made it possible for them to attain everything that they have got. If we spend more time talking about the hard work of Tony Elumelu, about Femi Kuti, about UBA, about Professor Soyinka, about Samuel Nkrumah, who could easily just say, I'll use my father's name and I'll have doors open, but she's still having to fight every single day for every single thing that she gets. So if we use their stories to get the message across to our young people that nothing happens by accident. You work hard, you fight hard, you become resilient, you become strong, then we will have a story to tell in 20 to 40 to 50 years and say, Africa has truly arrived. But if we don't, we'll be sitting here, I'm over 50, maybe in another 30 years, 40 years, I don't know, I might be as strong as Prof when I'm 85. But whatever happens, another 40 years from now, we will probably still sit here and repeat the same thing. But if it is going to change, it means everyone here today will get up and go and begin to talk to young people and say, let's create that change from today. Thank you.
I have a young lady over behind you.
Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to listen to all of you speak. Thank you. Just to make a couple of comments. One on ageism. It is beautiful that we're talking about our history. I also was very surprised when I first discovered that history was no longer taught in schools. I was taught a form of history, but it was a very reduced form of it, I will say that. But I mention ageism because as much as we can sit in this room and say, you know, young people ought to do this or ought not to do that, I was privileged enough earlier this year, just before elections, to tour parts of the country with Chocolate City and talk to young people about how they felt about their involvement in Nigeria. And young people feel completely excluded. Whether it's walking into banking halls and how they're addressed, whether it's them presenting ideas of saying, I've got this historical piece I want to create, and people saying, where's the money in that? The reality is that in Nigeria and in a lot of Africa, one of the most recognized forms of power is money. Those who control the money, those who control these forms of power, must create more opportunities and create cultures within the offices, within the organizations, where when someone, just because they look young, approaches you, you actually listen. Youth shouldn't be automatically equated with ignorance. And I think the vast majority of young Nigerians definitely feel that when they do approach people with power, with money, with some form of control,